Our next session is going to cover the topic of eSIM technology and whether mobile network operators are truly ready and have coherent strategies in place for this new trend. In a similar vein to the rise of OTT players many years back, many operators did not devise a strong enough plan when it comes to new technologies. Should they compete? Should they collaborate? Well, Rakuten's approach has certainly been to collaborate. That's one way of looking at things. But now we're going to find out from a couple of industry experts as to the best way forward. It's my great pleasure to welcome, firstly, Thomas Dingler, the CEO of Dent Wireless. Big hand for Thomas, please. Our next guest panelist is Mitchell Fordham, the co-founder and chief revenue officer of eSIM Go. Big round of applause for Mitchell, please. And lastly, but by no means least, we have Tariq Zaid, the SVP of International Business at Rakuten Mobile. So I'll hand the floor to you first, Thomas. If you could give us a quick introduction of Dent Wireless and sort of your overall thoughts on the biggest challenges facing the eSIM space at the moment.
Thank you so much. So yeah, Dent Wireless, we started in 2017 with the story where Andy, one of the co-founders, went from Germany to Australia, got a nice SMS from Vodafone saying, hey, you can top up your contract with 1 gigabyte for 25,000 euro. Of course, it was phrased in another way, right? So, but that was the actual story where Dent decided, okay, let's disrupt this. There is something to change. And let's say the vision was to liberate mobile data. And after some years trying and experimenting, in 2019, we became a worldwide MVNO with eSIM technology, registered at Apple, registered at Google, and built an app for downloading a SIM card, right, using eSIM technology from the App Store. And we had everything ready 4 years back actually. We wanted to do a big launch at the MWC 2020 together with some partners, and then COVID hit, right? So we had a bit more time, let's say it this way, to build a solution. But actually we are here now and it's picking up. Travel eSIM is picking up. And so we are one of the operators that can offer one tariff for today 81 countries, where you can just download an app, sign in, get the eSIM, and buy mobile data. And you can use it everywhere in the world, 81 countries. So if you run out of data, you just top it up. So no need to buy a SIM card for Australia, or eSIM for Germany, eSIM for US. It's one eSIM. Because we come from the app world, we know how digital systems work, what the user experience should be, and strongly focused there to make a really seamless integration. And the main challenge in the beginning, a couple of years back, was to convince the people that eSIM is something safe, actually, because that's what the operators always do. It's a SIM card, it's safe, right? Don't switch it. So you need to convince people how it works. Apple did a great job introducing the iPhone 14 with eSIM only, so people get more and more into it. And I think today you still have locked phones, right, where it's hard to install an eSIM. And let's say that is the consumer side. On the other side, we also have a reseller platform. And there, I think the main challenges are, let's say, on the regulatory side, so that you have in different countries still different regulations. Like, for example, that in Dubai, you can't sell a travel SIM to a local, let's say, resident. And just Dubai, so you need to check.
Yep. So there's a lot of good examples, a lot of material to cover there, I think, in a bit more depth shortly as well. So thanks very much for kicking us off, Thomas. Mitchell, if you could give us an introduction again to eSIM Go and a bit more about your, again, sort of relatively succinct take on where things stand.
Yeah, so there's a lot of parallels between eSIM Go and the journey that Dent have been on. eSIM Go actually came out of, like all good ideas, a bar in Dubai after a GSMA WAS event. And at the time, I was working as an MVNO, MVNE enabler, very traditional mobile operator. And we sat through a lot of conversations during that 2 or 3 day event in Dubai around eSIM and how it's going to change distribution of products. And we sat there and we were actually thinking, you know what, I'm meant to be from this enabler, very agile organization as a mobile operator, but I can only onboard 2 mobile operators, MVNOs a year if I'm lucky, because of the various bureaucracy that goes hand in hand with mobile operators. So eSIM Go came out of how can we enable anyone to go and build a proposition like a Dent or even like an airline, an airport, people who have got travelers. And what came out of this was our take on like a Twilio or MessageBird CPaaS platform where anyone can come up, any developer can log on within three minutes or so, be selling eSIMs, developing and building and constructing a value proposition, which would normally take them 18 to 24 months if they went to a mobile operator directly. So we're kind of like the B2B to X enabler. And from my point of view, the biggest challenge that my partners have, because I'm never really dealing with that consumer, is, as Thomas said, around getting that person to use the eSIM for the first time, because it's such a new technology. And although Apple has done a good job enabling the onboarding of an eSIM, for this particular use case around travel, it's not very smooth. So around the enabling the consumer to understand how the eSIM works is the biggest challenge that my customers are facing.
Thanks very much, Mitchell. And over to you, Tarek. I mean, if you can give us a sort of quick overview of where Rakuten stand on this, on some of the challenges that Thomas and Mitchell have mentioned. What is Rakuten's approach, broadly speaking, to eSIM technology? Are you more minded to collaborate or compete?
Yeah. So actually, as MNO, my travelers or my roamers, they're traveling anyhow. You always used to travel everywhere, and whenever they travel somewhere, they have 2 options, or actually 3 options. Either to use my services as roaming services that I'm offering to them, or to buy a local SIM card, which is actually always used to be a physical SIM card, not an eSIM, or to be a silent roamer. And when it comes to silent roamers, we always have, as global standards, around 30 to 40% of travelers are silent roamers. And that's why MNOs always try to approach them. And usually they are afraid to use roaming because they are afraid of the bill shocks. So we believe that now we have new players in the market, and those new players are offering a service that is very interesting and easy to get, which is the eSIM. You don't need to land in any airport to get a SIM card now. You can just get it online. You can get it from the application before even traveling. So this is technology evolution, and we believe for every evolution, some people resist it, and some others capitalize and make use of the opportunity and build on it. So from our perspective at Rakuten, we believe that we choose to collaborate with the new players, not to resist the new evolution.
See, Tarek, the way you explain that, it makes it seem like the adoption of this technology should be relatively straightforward, right? There's a relatively easy explanation for how things should be done. But what I want to know is why things are not being done that way. What is the biggest cause of skepticism from the MNOs? Thomas, maybe you can give your thoughts on that. What is sort of holding them back from adopting this kind of approach, broadly speaking?
I think working with companies like us, the main thing is how the industry works from, let's say, how agreements are made. So the normal thing is you have wholesale agreements. So they're asking you for a commitment of whatever 6-digit number you can imagine. And as a startup, if you're starting a company, you don't know how many people are, let's say, the next 12 months using your service. So it's hard to get a commitment there. So you're already, let's say, in the first meeting, you're kind of out. So first, you need to find someone who can talk with you and understands your journey and has a model that can grow with you. I think that's one of the main things. And the second thing is that, of course, let's say in the last 30 years, a lot of technology was built. A lot of standards were integrated from IMSIs, from GUI, from eSIM. How this technology can be most complex, right? So the integration projects are really a lot of efforts. Then these are the 2 things I see.
Mitch, what do you think? Is the are integration challenges some of the biggest obstacles that are faced, or is it more just brought the skepticism to how that could cannibalize their business, let's say?
Yeah, for me, like all of this around eSIM travel products doesn't really need to exist. Like what I'm paying the mobile operator on a wholesale basis, they're paying themselves. And actually, a lot of this comes down to mobile operators are scared of cannibalization, but they're also scared about losing significantly high margin product lines. So I see a very massive divide between the MNOs I work with. So some MNOs are embracing it, and they're seeing that it's going to happen, because the way that the global roaming market works, you only need like 5 or 10 mobile operators to go and enable people like myself and Thomas to go sell these products, and it's going to basically diminish their roaming revenues anyway. The other side of this is the ones who embrace it, and they've hit in two camps as well. The way in which roaming works, I'm sure most of you will know, is generally a bilateral agreement. So I want to pay you $1 for my customers to come to you, you pay me $1 when they come to me. And that then creates two sort of environments. You're either a net receiver of money or a net payer. So what we see is the mobile operators who are net receivers of basically they have more inbound roamers are very happy to embrace the eSIM technology from people like us. So we work with mobile operators today to enable their eSIM products outbound. But if they were to go and lower their rates, they'd lose significant high value margin coming into their network. So there's two things here, but most of it's commercial.
Yeah. It's interesting that you also mentioned there, you say that some operators certainly can see what's going to happen. You know, the writing seems to be on the wall in some sense. Tarek, maybe explain a bit more why exactly Rakuten has chosen to be collaborative and competitive sense.
We cannot resist the evolution of technology, and that we have seen this example, and maybe everyone works in this industry understands. We have seen in like more than 10 years ago or 15 years ago when a new OTT players came to the market introducing applications for international voice calls, right? And a lot of MNOs started to resist. And we ended up having this kind of applications dominating the market, and nobody actually using international voice, using native dialers now. It's very, very little amount of traffic now, not like before. And at Rakuten, we can give example here, or what we have, what was our approach to deal with something like that is like acquiring Viber, right? And understand that Viber is one of the top players in the market for OTT, international voice and voice applications, and that was our approach, to acquire and collaborate with them, not to just resist and say, no, this will not, we cannot accept this. So that's how was our approach with to deal with this new technology, and I believe that it's happening again with the eSIM, and we have to deal with it in a collaborative way.
I mean, it's interesting as well. I've seen certainly in certain unnamed markets, we've seen where roaming costs outrageous. We might be talking $5 or $6 for a single gigabyte, right? And obviously that stacks up over time.
So my mobile operator, who I used to work for, is charging me £560 a gigabyte in Spain. Like, that's crazy. I'm paying that less than $1. Why? Profiteering.
And I think there's another thing. There are several examples. If you lower the rates, the traffic goes up extremely, right? So that you lower the rates to, let's say, an affordable area, and traffic, 10x, right? So you actually make more revenue, and let's say the costs are not going higher for the towers if there is more traffic, right?
That's how exactly the MNOs see it. Some of them see that you are cannibalizing their revenues, and some others are seeing that you are increasing their traffic and accordingly increasing the revenues. That's why they ask for commitment, by the way. Yeah. I believe for the MNOs, there is always a problem that have been there for a long time, which is trust between the MNOs and the customers. As I'm saying, most of the customers or most of the travelers, when they travel abroad, they turn off the data roaming. Even some airlines now are asking you to, or inviting you to turn off the data roaming before you land somewhere, because everyone is afraid of the bill shocks. And that's actually because of some MNOs, you're still offering pay-as-you-go propositions. And this is a problem because this actually destroy the trust between the customers and the MNOs. Yep.
I mean, it's interesting that I have to sort of go back to what you said there, Mitchell. I can't remember the exact phrasing you used in terms of profiteering. There we go. I mean, like, could you say, is this a case of being too short-sighted, perhaps? Is it short-term greed in that sense? Is that what you're... I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that basically what you're implying there?
In some situations, yes, it is greed. But it's also, because it's a high margin product, you're talking like 1,000% markup plus. the MNOs who take that tact only need a very, very small handful of customers a year to accidentally spend £10,000 for it to be very profitable. And actually, if they were to embrace the way that we think on this panel, we wouldn't actually have to be here. They're creating the problem themselves. But I don't see them really changing that mentality. We're seeing it with the SMS world. We're seeing it in voice. In the EU now, if you're trying to phone a German number from outside the EU, it's a 50p or 50 cent surcharge. It's not going to change.
So some operators are still doing this. Yeah, I agree with you. But let me just give you an example how we dealt with this in Rakuten. We are not offering any pay-as-you-go now for roaming, right? So to build the trust with the customers, we are offering 2 GB free for every customer per month, right? And once you consume the 2 GB free, the service will be locked. That's it. You cannot use anything else. There is no pay-as-you-go. And the main purpose is, of course, to make it affordable for everyone to use the roaming service, but also to build the trust with every customer. And if you want to use more data, you just go to the application and pay for what you use. That's it. So this is the way that how we build the trust between us and our customer. But I understand your point that some operators are still offering pay-as-you-go for like $10 per megabyte or something, which is not reasonable or logical at all.
I think that was one of the reasons why we decided to have this one tariff for the whole world, right? So you can't be, surprised at the end. So it's really covered everything.
Yes, I mean, Thomas, I was just going to ask you actually if you could sort of give your take on perhaps the biggest question is how can you successfully convince operators to change their mind when they have such high markups on these kind of services? What can you do to, I see you shaking your head there, Mitchell, but maybe you want to take this one first. I don't know. No.
Yeah, I think convincing operators, not sure if this is a challenge I want to take, but I can create, let's say, a pull factor, right? And so, and that's, I think, what we are doing. We have our consumer brand. We also have other channels where we offer our service, and this creates demand. People want to use it, and then operators are actually coming to us. They want to sell their roaming contracts through us. So utilize this, and I think that's then a point where you can see, okay, these operators, the first movers, have then an advantage at the end. I think that's the way it goes. You can't convince an operator. That is my experience.
Yeah, you're not going to convince them. You just take their customer, and we'll take their money. Simple.
Okay. I suppose my next question really is: do you, without sort of, I mean, feel free to divulge this discretion, I suppose, but do you see anything in common in terms of markets in which you've had the greatest success, or in terms of those who are most willing to adopt your services? Is there any?
100%. Like for me, I don't serve consumers, but what we see on a wholesale basis is the countries that we see the greatest installs in are generally the countries where they're being exploited heavily. I won't go into exact countries because regulators or whoever might be here. They're the obvious ones.
Okay. Yeah, I think we have the same experience this way. So that you have a lot of demand in countries where maybe also, let's say, the coverage is split between the operators. So if you are subscribed to one operator and move to another location in this country, you might have low coverage. So actually, they use then roaming services that are able to connect to multiple operators in this country. So there's a lot of demand. But let's say, for me, let's say we now moved from a travel SIM, right? I saw your SIM cards, from a travel SIM approach to the travel eSIM, right? So we have a product that kind of have the subscription, let's say, what you say, the subscription is actually a bit bad, or you have let's say, a bad experience with operators with the bill shock. Okay, you have now a digital product that kind of substitutes this. But that's, I think, just an intermediate step. So it's just, let's say, a digital solution of let's say, a workaround. And I see a future where we really, let's say, have global offerings where the user can choose, and where the user can also then, let's say, a bit more educated, can more easily choose between different operators, maybe have 2 or 3 subscriptions in this pocket. And this is actually where I see in the next 5 years, right, the let's say, the market going to. Today, travel eSIM, fine, but there will be coming more.
The traffic will increase, actually. I believe that as long as the customers are getting more educated about how to use the service, how to get it, and how easy it is. So I think the traffic will be increasing, and accordingly, this will help you also to get better rates for wholesale. And one of the use cases, also what I have seen last year, even in this event in MWC, I have seen some companies offering some QR codes as giveaway, just for whoever coming to visit the booth. They give them a QR code. You just scan it and get 5 gigabytes for free in Spain, right? So it means that your target customer for who comes to the retail is not only the consumer. You have a target customer for the enterprises as well. And that means that more traffic is on the way.
Tarek, also, in the subject of sort of increasing revenues, I mean, do you think, what kind of opportunities do you see to sell additional services on top of eSIM technology? Is there an approach that Rakuten is currently using, or is there one that you would suggest to other operators? Are they missing a trick?
I think they have a lot of opportunities to capitalize on the application of selling eSIM and eSIM itself, right? As I'm saying, the enterprise is one important segment. At Rakuten, we have also Rakuten, we're offering to the customer also when they use our service currently. We are offering eSIM as well. But we are mainly targeting our customers. We're not targeting any other customer all over the world. And this is the difference. Here you can target whoever customer you want, right? You can be competing with me in one destination, but this is one of your destinations, but you have too many other destinations, right? So it can be actually everywhere, right? So one of the things that we are doing is that we are bundling it with our services with Rakuten points. So whenever you use, the more that you use the service or consume more data, you take more points, and you can use it on Rakuten Ishiba or e-commerce platform or whatever. So this is one of the things that we can do, and I think you have the same kind of integrations that can be done with some other enterprises, like giving points, gifts, whatever. When we encourage the customer, big kind of loyalty programs for the customers, I think there is a very big chance for more evolution and more evolving for the service.
One final question, because we're running short on time, but this is to both our guest panelists, Thomas and Mitchell. So how long do you think, broadly speaking, MNOs can and will ignore these kind of approaches for? Is it something where short-term greed turns into a loss of opportunity, let's say? Mitchell, what do you take?
Sure. So this whole conversation's been very heavily geared towards travel eSIM. And for us, like, travel eSIM has always been our phase one, our MVP, or minimum lovable products, the eSIM Go. Because the way we see this going is, we talked about bundling of points. We work with a lot of brands who bundle in connectivity with their core service. So we enable the Lufthansa eSIM app. We enable the Wizz Air eSIM solution as well, Western Union, a lot of these big brands who want to give away connectivity. And actually, what we're seeing in the market is travel will be here for 4, 5, 10 years time, same as traditional travel SIMs. But it's that moving into brands being able to provide eSIMs for local subscriptions all over the world is where we see this moving to. To me, that's the really exciting and sexy opportunity around eSIM, because let's face it, eSIM is just about distribution of a SIM card. The fact that it's electronic means I don't have to worry about an inventory. It's about being creative, how you get that connectivity into the hands of the consumer.
Thanks very much. And Thomas, what's your take on the same question?
Yeah, I think, let's say if you go to the enterprise part and you have today a customer with whatever, 3,000 employees, right? And everyone has a SIM card in it. So the customer wants to change to another operator. It's a big project, right? You really need, let's say, ship new devices or whatever. If you think of this, hey, there is now a digital platform where you can just onboard, you have an MDM, and you send all your 3,000 employees just an eSIM. Then it's a 24 hours project, right, to switch. And I think this will come and will really increase the pressure for the MNOs. And if you don't have a solution like this as an MNO, if you don't have this opportunity, then you are left behind in the game. And I think that will really lead to a major change there. But it will take some time.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Do we have any questions from the audience? Oh, good. Can we... Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, just one question is how do you test the quality of service and the quality of experience? Yeah, like you're leveraging on other MNOs, right? You could get coverage all around the world. So do you have certain criteria? Like, for example, a minimum number of MNOs that you need to leverage on in a certain destination, or like how do you test the experience? Maybe a second question is your target now all retail, or are you very M2M IoT?
Okay, so for eSIM Go, like we're very aware that not all roaming is created equal, and a lot of the quality comes around the sponsor MNO. I mean, we're all here MVNOs with one exception, but for us, it's really important we work with tier one MNOs who allow us to integrate in the way we want to. So I don't want to be taking 25 different versions of one API from 25 different sponsors. I also want to look at, can they provide me multiple networks in one country? Am I getting 5G? Do we have a local breakout? So I don't want my North American product to be breaking out in Europe because of a latency for the consumer. So that for us is really, really important. And all of that comes down to testing rigorously and working with trusted tier one partners.
So to your second question, so I think M2M, it's a different game. It's really, let's say, very low margin. You have manufacturers that have that, let's say, EUICC, so the chips that are put there. And where I see the trend going is that actually you have your mobile subscription, and like you equip your Apple Watch. Also, you can also equip then, let's say, a machine like you have a two-wheeler or something like this, right? With your own subscription, so you can use your subscription also on machines. Let's say your washing machine uses also your whatever T-Mobile or Rakuten subscription, right? To talk with internet. To your first question, I think the main question here is quality of service. What actually the consumer or the user demands, right? And no one wants 3G anymore, right? So LTE, 4G, 5G, I think that's the minimum you need to serve. We, let's say, try to build a product where we have the control. So we have our own local breakout system. We control the traffic. And then at the end, I agree, you need to have the measurements. You need to have the, let's say, telco QA on it so that you can see it. And that's still let's say, an ongoing process. You always need to measure. You always need to recalibrate, and you need to have the right partners.
Thank you very much. Any further questions from the audience, or final words from Tarek?
I believe, answering the first question, I believe measurement of quality is very important as well, because at the end of the day, you're getting the connectivity from the MNO. And I know some MNOs that they have actually the ability, technical ability to limit and set, thresholds for the quality of service that they are offering to you, which is actually something that might impact your customers, because they don't want you to give the same customer experience like their customers. So it's very important to have the measures for the quality. I agree.
You might actually run in the case that you are kind of a second tier client, right, of the operator. So if the subscriber of the operator comes to a country, has a better coverage and is maybe prioritized, then let's say a roaming from us kind of client comes, or subscribers comes to the same country. So definitely that's needs care.
Perfect. Thank you very much for a fantastic conversation. Big round of applause for our panelists, please, ladies and gents. Thank you very much. Cheers.